And our second delegation is Nathan Bird, representing Victoria Transit Riders Union on this same agenda item 5.1, the region-wide free youth bus pass program.
Welcome.
Hello, thank you. So the Victoria Transit Riders Union, or VTRU, is very pleased with this motion to explore expanding fare-free transit access to all teens across the CRD. Our slogan is fare-free and excellent transit for all, but we recognize that fares are a major barrier to accessing transit, and accordingly, removing fares invariably results in substantial increase in ridership. For example, when Orangeville, Ontario eliminated all fares, it resulted in a huge 100 to 50, 100 to 60% increase in ridership, which is amazing, but would probably overwhelm Victoria's existing transit infrastructure. So in view of that, VTRU advocates for the immediate expansion of fare-free programs to include all teens and seniors, allowing for time to build up carrying capacity that would allow for the eventual elimination of all fares, which is where we would really see the greatest cost feasibility and societal benefit. It's wonderful that teens in Victoria proper already have access to fare-free transit, and complementing the data showing that the vast majority of them are availing themselves of this are data from Kingston, Ontario, which show that free teen bus passes allowed 10% of teens to participate in recreational activities that they otherwise would not be able to participate in. So it's not just about encouraging youth to ride the bus, which is very important for environmental and safety reasons, among others, and it's not even just about improving affordability, also very important. It's also about removing a prohibitive barrier to engagement with their communities, and in doing so, allowing youth to live more active, social, happier, and healthier lives. It is deeply unfair that not all teens in the CRD are eligible for these passes, and this negatively affects both the haves and the have-nots. VTRU helped organize an Earth Day rally at the legislature last spring, at which we, alongside Transit for Teens, called for fare-free transit for teens. And a couple of young speakers from Victoria emotionally recounted having to watch other youth plead for a free ride. So introducing a CRD-wide youth bus program would obviously help address this source of inequality and moral distress, and VTRU enthusiastically supports that. All that said, it is likewise unfair that teens in Vancouver or Kelowna don't have access to fare-free transit, and so VTRU strongly urges continued pressure on the provincial government to take the lead on expanding province-wide fare-free programs. Keeping in mind that last year the UBCM requested fare-free transit for all BC teens in grade 12 and under, and that during the provincial election, the NDP themselves promised fare-free transit for seniors in off-peak hours, and that they have so far made completely no progress on either of these fronts. So yes, make transit fare-free for teens across the CRD, but also keep up the pressure on the NDP to extend fare-free programs province-wide. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. And this one belongs to Directors Caradonna and Thompson. And so, DCO Lagoa, I'll just check in with you. As this was read in at the board and referred to the committee, is it considered a live motion, or will it have to be put to the floor here for consideration?
We always require a mover and seconder, and that is the stage we're at.
Okay, thank you. So Director Caradonna, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, and in fact, before moving it, I'm going to modify it a little bit following some conversations with staff. So if we could bring it up on the screen. Yeah, so the modification I'm going to make would be to after the word investigate, have a comma, which would be as part of the Victoria Regional Transportation planning process? Plan?
It's the regional transportation plan versus, I wouldn't include Victoria in that.
Sorry, I don't know why I put the word Victoria. I always have Victoria on the mind.
As part of the you could say as part of the update to the regional transportation plan. Regional transportation plan.
There's egg on my face.
Take planning
I was thinking
process.
of the Victoria Regional Transit Committee, which is also odd.
Plan.
worded one.
Plan.
As part of the update to the regional transit rider plan, yes, and then everything else stays the same. So I will move that.
Okay, is there a seconder? Director Thompson. Of course, you're the seconder. You already indicated as the seconder. You were fully committed. Director Caradonna, it's yours to motivate.
Thank you, Chair. So this, maybe I'll start with the modification. I won't even call it an amendment. The modification I made following conversations with staff is to indicate that there is already a process underway to update the regional transportation plan, and it would really make the most sense to investigate this concept in the context of that process rather than creating a separate parallel process. And I'll note that that process is going to bring us up into 2027. So for anyone wondering if this might happen this term, whether you're skeptical of that or excited about that, it's very unlikely to happen. I'm also very abundantly aware that it wasn't a strategic priority for this body, frankly, to have fare-free youth transit passes. So the idea here is to have a bit of a long runway and give staff an opportunity to do an investigation, reach out to BC Transit, see how we might pay for this, how it might fit into broader goals of the regional transportation plan, and then bring that information back to whoever is around this table in January of 2027. And let the folks who are on the next board, give them the opportunity to figure out if there's a path ahead on this. Going back to some of the emails we've received around this concept and some of the delegations, this really is motivated, though, by a desire to have a more equitable approach to transit across the region. And in fact, it was motivated by a conversation I had with my wife. My wife is a social worker, and I won't give too much details about where she works and what she does, but she has a client who is a low-income single mother of 3 teenagers. And those 3 teenagers struggle to get to high school. Their high school is outside of walking distance. They literally cannot afford daily bus fare, which adds up very quickly, especially with round trips. And they're basically having to figure out rides from friends or parents of friends just to get to high school. And so my wife said to this woman, well, why don't you get the free youth bus pass that is offered? And the woman said, well, we don't live in Victoria. We live in the West Shore, so we're not applicable for it. And so my wife came home and told me that story. And I guess I hadn't really thought about it since I'm a Victoria counselor, and we've had this program in place since 2019, which we originally financed through parking fees. And I think a lot of people think that we continue to finance it through parking fees, but actually we don't. And now it just comes out of general revenue. It costs the city $630,000 a year, which is a price that's well worth it. According to our staff who just reported back to us on this recently, 69% of 13 to 18-year-olds in the city limits of Victoria use this program. It's wildly successful. When it was even discussed being cut last year, there was a huge backlash. This is something that delivers very direct value to the community for just over $500,000 a year. So the idea here, just to reiterate, is to get some information and to set up the next board to make some decisions on this. But I do think it is worth a conversation, and I do think it's potentially a way of demonstrating the value of our transportation service. When I go out into community and talk about how the CRD has a transportation service, people say, well, what is that service doing? Well, right now it's basically doing bureaucratic work of coordinating and streamlining some of the planning we're doing behind the scenes. But people want to see the tangible value that it brings to the community. Fare-free youth bus passes is something that has very, very, very tangible real-world impacts on people's lives. And I think that the volume of emails and delegations we've had on this shows that the community wants us to, at the very least, be exploring it. I'll also note, because I am a transit commissioner and there is an ongoing debate about fares versus demand and service levels. I will note, though, that in Victoria, when we implemented this program back in 2019, as you would imagine, it drove ridership because more young people are getting on the bus, and then eventually they age out of the free system and they have to pay when they're 19, but they become habituated as transit riders. So there's the added bonus if a program like this were to move forward in the future, that it does help build the business case for expanded service level, because you just have a new generation of people that are understanding the value and the efficiency and the joys of riding transit. So that's the request today of the committee, is to move this forward as an investigation piece. It's not going to be something that's going to happen this term, but it maybe sets us up for that conversation, whoever's around the board table in 2027. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Director Caradonna. Director Thompson is the seconder. I'll give you the chance to speak to it next.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, this is how we build the next generation of transit riders. Anecdotally, all of my kids have had these free transit passes, and they're all transit users now. They just easily hop on the bus and go somewhere. I know that sounds easy for us, but for a lot of people out there, they've just never been on a bus and don't know how to use it. I did get a fair amount of support from residents from around the region, interestingly from West Shore residents, emphasizing the access to sports and other opportunities for youth and the greater health and other benefits as a result. I received one in particular, and I'm just going to read it out because the author, I asked her for permission to read it, and she was okay with that. And I'll read it out because it gives a bit of a flavor of what parents are thinking and what youth are experiencing. Dear counselors, I'm the mom of a Belmont student who is heavily involved in before and after school music and theater activities. As these early and late times fall outside of the regular school bus hours, I drive him to and from school. Many friends of his are not so lucky and must rely on the city bus. Some of those kids cannot afford a bus pass and often walk long distances to and from school. We often end up driving a carload of kids home in the evening. I recently wrote to the entirety of the Langford and Colwood councils to ask that the West Shore start a UPass program such as the youth program in Victoria. They told me that while they were in agreement, this was a proposal that must be addressed at a regional level. And here we are at the regional level. Where did I lose that now? Oh, there we are. Please use my testimony to express at your CRD meeting tomorrow how impactful a UPass program would be to West Shore youth. This is more than a transportation issue, it's a quality of life issue. Free bus passes will be a game changer for a number of kids I know who are really trying to improve their lives and stay out of trouble. It will allow them to have more time for homework, longer sleeps, and less tardies. It will relieve a lot of stress to not have to worry about choosing between purchasing a bus pass or food. And it will allow some kids to get and keep jobs that contribute to their families' expenses and to our local economy as well. In short, a simple free bus pass for many teens will cause a ripple effect through our whole community. Happier, less stressed youth who feel supported will be happier, less stressed adults who support. We need that, the whole world does. Thanks very much to that writer, the Belmont theater mom and youth advocate, Kirsten Young. And I think that really sums it up. The mover said, you know, this is a first step. It's a report back. It's not a commitment that this table is making to spending. And I'd like to thank the mover for the initiative and for doing more than the lion's share of work on the motion.
Okay, thank you, Director Thompson. Additional speakers, Director Szpak.
Thank you. I want to express my appreciation to Director Caradonna and also to Director Thompson for bringing this forward. I mean, there is really some synergy going on here because the City of Langford Council, some of our councillors, we were considering putting this forward as a notice of motion to bring it to the region, so at our council table. And I mean right around the very same time, my understanding was that this would be coming forward at the Transportation Committee. So it's very timely, it's very relevant, and so all the good reasons have been expressed very articulately. I'd just like to add that there are some challenges that have recently emerged for West Shore youth, and that's School District 62 schedule changes to their school buses are really impacting on our youth that are at the high school level with route consolidation and longer wait times, catchment area restrictions, and then of course there's a real financial impact that carries. So just in the name of improving access to education and opportunities and sports and everything else that kids are wanting to do, and the outcome of reducing financial strain, and then, of course, encouraging public transit use. I think this motion is worded so that it's easy to support. I don't think it's going to cause a lot of stress and anxiety. It's an exploratory, intentional motion, and I think that this type of service needs to be shared at the regional level. I know the City of Langford does not have the capacity right now to take this on by ourselves, and as much as we would like to say, let's do it, there's no revenue stream for that. So hopefully, all together in future years, we're going to be able to see this huge improvement for our local regional youth. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director Szpak. If there are no directors in the room, I'll go to the folks online. The first name I see is Director Tait and then Director Kobayashi. Go ahead, Director Tait.
Thank you very much, Chair, and I'd like to thank the mover and seconder. And I will support this because it is important to get the information. And particularly what I'm looking for is, you know, it's one thing because it saves on the cost of the buses, but it has to still be paid by somebody, which would be property tax owners likely. And then, yes, more people will take the bus, which is great. However, we also know that the transit service is not meeting, it just has its own challenges in terms of delivering the service. So what the concern I have is we out in Souk simply cannot compete with the demand out of the core. There are no double-deckers coming to Souk anymore because the rapid transit lane uses them. And so that's the reality, but it's not fun standing on a single-decker bus the entire way of Highway 14. Further, the service doesn't meet the hours that young people need them, and that is Sunday, holidays, Mondays, even events or days like Boxing Day and Easter Monday, which are not official stats, but young people often work and need to get around on those days. Our transit service here is extremely limited. It is vastly different than what is currently in the core. So I think it's important to get this information. It will be a decision that'll come in years to come. However, it's also the impact that we have out here. And further to what Director Szpak has indicated, the school buses is a good example. Every family now pays anywhere from $333 for one child up to $860 if you have 3 or more. And there are simply not enough buses to meet the demand here. So there are many kids right now with no buses whatsoever. And so parents are forced to work and the like because the transit service is not available. So it's one thing to say to young people, we have a free bus pass, but guess what? There's no bus. So what does that? It still leaves people driving with a free bus pass because there's no bus. However, it's important to get the information, so I support that, and we'll see where it goes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director Tait. Next to speak is Director Kobayashi, followed by Goodmanson, and then in the room, Director McNeil-Smith.
Thank you very much, Chair. You stole all my thunder there. They were all good points made by Director Tait. My concern is the same way right now, same thing out in Colwood, and I'm speaking with a Colwood hat on because our service is certainly not like what you get in the core right now. We do not get the service. In fact, if anything, the service is less now. Frequency is better in some areas, but so it's truly not equitable from an accessibility point of view right now. And I guess what concerns me, I guess the information that you want to gather is one thing. I would support that we have to have that information, but I guess there's a question that I have to ask. I think this is a worthy thing to look at, but why is it just youth? What about our seniors? that was brought up by some of the speakers in the beginning too, and I kind of hear that more from seniors than from the youth side of things right now. What's fair and what's equitable right now? So what about seniors? Why is it free youth and why isn't free senior? So, if anything, I'd like to understand the cost of that too, if we're going to be looking at everything right now. So the last point I do want to make right now is, and this concerns me a lot, we're getting off our strategy right now, what our strategic priorities are. We clearly stated right in the beginning that this isn't a strategic priority. So here we are going off base again. And you're saying, well, it's maybe up to the next board. Well, let's make it up for the next board. Let's see if the next board think that this is a priority. So we're deciding something now, saying that, well, we're not going to spend till 2027, but let them decide this. So why are we bringing this up when it's not one of our priorities? Let's stick to let's focus. And, we've got a lot of fiscal challenges right now. And I basically think it's fiscally irresponsible on our part, just my opinion on this right now, to look at this when we have our current priorities and a lot of new services coming into play next year. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Director Kobayashi. Next to speak is Director Goodmanson, followed by McNeil-Smith.
Yes, thank you, Chair. It's hard for me to add anything new because I agree 100% with pretty much everything everyone has said here. There is a couple of points I'd like to bring up. I think there is a benefit to, for lack of a better term, overloading the system. As I've talked with my counterparts around the CRD, we all have been talked that it's hard to get anywhere with BC Transit. And we're routinely told that they won't improve service until the need is there. Okay, this is a possibility to show them the need is there. Now, please start improving the service that we see is needed all across the CRD, and whether it's Duke, out to Sydney, or anywhere in between. So I think there is a benefit to possibly loading up the system. Because it's going to show them they need to put their proverbial money where their mouth is. Secondly, I do want to give a shout out to Director Szpak and Councillor Gowrie from Langford. They brought this to our attention. The same resident that Director Thompson spoke of sent us an email, and pretty quick on, Director Szpak and Gowrie wanted to do a motion on this. And then right after that, Director Caradonna stated that he was going to do a motion in CRD. So I asked Directors Szpak and Councillor Gowrie, can you hold off, let the CRD one come first? And they did. And then a sign of the regional collaboration we're getting now, I did talk to briefly to Director Caradonna and asked, can Director Szpak and Councillor Gowrie work with you on this, because they were going to do it on their own, and he agreed. So I'm thankful that this is coming through. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. And as I say, if we load up the system, it's going to force BC Transit to do what they say they've been waiting to do.
Okay, thank you, Director Goodmanson. Next to speak is Director McNeil-Smith, followed by Director Szpak.
Thank you, Chair. And I want to take a moment to thank Director Caradonna and Thompson, but to Director Caradonna in the motivation and in consulting with staff and bringing this forward. I think this is very important work that will dovetail with the work in the Regional Transportation Plan. We know from the previous item that we added the words collaboration along with advocacy to both VRTC, to the senior levels of government, and committee members are aware, directors are aware from a previous board meeting that the update that was provided that CAO Robbins, myself as board chair and Transportation Committee Chair Murdock met with the minister during UBCM to put forward a request to work collaboratively on the Regional Transportation Plan to achieve both the regional district goals, but the provincial goals for our region-wide community. So thank you.
Thank you, Director McNeil-Smith. Director Szpak.
Thank you again, Chair, for the opportunity to speak again. Just on some comments that were made, I believe, by Director Kobayashi regarding our strategic plan and making sure that we're adhering to it. And I 100% agree that it's very important not to be looking at those shiny things and reaching for them when we have a plan in place. And I just wanted to clarify that our strategic plan does include improving transit options as a key priority. So I believe that this does fulfill that, and to be shifting towards more walking, cycling, and transit use to reduce congestion and carbon emissions, and this is definitely one way to do it. The other is regarding seniors. They are able to apply for a low-cost seniors bus pass. There are a couple of programs with BC Transit in that regard, because those were very good points, Director Kobayashi, and I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director Szpak. Are there any other speakers to the motion as amended? I will, oh, it wasn't, you introduced the amendment as part of the motion, so it's just the motion. My apologies. Just before I call the question, I'll also be supporting this. I think, as folks have said, this is one step in a process that will probably be many years in the making in order to come to fruition. But I think it gives this committee and board the opportunity to have a full understanding of what would be required in order for this to be implemented. I don't want to lose sight of the advocacy work we've done with senior governments in order to expand fare-free transit across the province. I think it was the right move that the province made to make fares free for youth 12 and under. And I think that that ought to be inclusive of youth 18 and under. I don't think that the province is in a hurry to move forward on that, because we keep hearing from them that they don't have the resources to put in that kind of a subsidy. For that and just about every other item that comes up. But I do want to ensure that the province continues to be part of this conversation, because it will be important that this is something that youth across the province enjoy access to high quality and frequent public transit. So I'll look forward to this report coming forward that'll put us in a better position to understand what would be required in order to do this. I agree with the comments that have been made that it's something that would benefit families across our region, and certainly is something that I've heard many times, particularly when I visit classrooms, that students who attend from Victoria are eligible for a free transit pass. Students who attend from Saanich and other parts of the region are not. So this will certainly be give me something that I can point to as work that we're doing to ensure that everybody has the same level of access. I'm going to call the question. Those in favor? And opposed? Seeing none opposed, the motion carries. Thank you.